Vinicius Jr. Still Vinicius is going to try his shot. What a goal! Vinicius Jr. Is there a more on-form player in La Liga right now, apart perhaps from Benzema?
He was once Europe's most feared winger, then the system turned against him. But under Xabi Alonso, Vinicius Jr. isn't just coming back, he's about to terrorise the continent all over again. But how is he about to do that, and how is Xabi going to change him to a monster? Well, let's talk about it. Real Madrid is entering a new chapter, and it's not just about a new coach, it's about a shift in identity. For the past years, Carlo Ancelotti has been the man in charge, and to be fair, he did a lot of things right. Under him, Madrid found consistency. They won La Liga, they won the Champions League, they rebuilt after the exits of legends like Ramos and Marcelo. Ancelotti brought stability. He trusted the veterans when he needed to, but also gave the younger generation, like Vinicius Jr., a platform to rise, and no one used that opportunity better than Vinny. He became a symbol of the new Madrid, the explosive pace, the confidence on the ball, the swagger. When Benzema dropped deep, it was Vinicius who carried the attack. Whether it was tearing apart defenses in La Liga or scoring in clutch Champions League moments, he wasn't just part of the team, he was the threat. And that's what made the Ancelotti era exciting. It was a team transition. But with Vinicius leading the new wave, it looked like the club's future was in safe hands. He had the backing, the freedom, and the system that allowed him to thrive. But now that era is over, and what started as a perfect match slowly became a misfit, especially last season. The arrival of new stars changed everything, and for Vinicius, the spotlight that once followed him began to shift. The 2023-24 season wasn't just a good season for Vinicius Jr. It was the season that confirmed he had officially entered the world-class tier. Not as a potential star, not as someone with raw talent, but as a fully formed match-winning, game-defining player. Everything came together for him. His pace, his technique, his decision-making, and most importantly, his finishing. That was the final piece of the puzzle. We always knew Vinicius could dribble past 3 defenders. We knew he could excite crowds. But for a long time, people questioned whether he had that end product, that cold, calculated ability to finish off chances or consistently deliver in the final third. Well, in 2023-24, he answered every one of those doubts. He scored 24 goals and added 11 assists in all competitions. That's 35 goal contributions. But beyond the numbers, the quality of those contributions mattered. He scored in big matches. He created chances when others went missing. He was the engine behind Madrid's transitions, the outlet when they were under pressure, and the nightmare for every fullback in Europe. And when you look at the trophies, La Liga, Champions League, Supercopa de España, it becomes clear. Vinicius wasn't just part of the team, he was the face of it. The one player who looked like he could win the Ballon d'Or and nobody would have called it undeserved. He had matured, his off-the-ball movement had improved, his ability to stay calm in decisive moments had improved, and the understanding he had with players like Bellingham and Rodrigo looked natural. It was a perfect fit. But then, everything changed. Kylian Mbappe arrived, and that should have been exciting. 2 of the most explosive players in world football in the same attack. It sounded like a cheat code, but in reality, it created a tactical headache that immediately impacted Vinicius' role in the team. See, Mbappe's game is built around the left half space. He's most dangerous cutting in from the left, where he can receive the ball wide, isolate defenders, and either shoot or combine centrally. Sound familiar? That's exactly where Vinicius operates best. That's where he's most comfortable, that's where he's lethal. So now, what happens when 2 of your top stars want to occupy the same zones? Someone has to shift, and that someone was Vinicius. Suddenly he was forced to play on the right in some games or tucked into central zones he didn't enjoy. His positioning wasn't as free, his one-on-one moments were fewer, and worst of all, he didn't seem as involved. The rhythm he had built across the last 2 seasons? Gone. You could see the frustration, not just from fans but in his body language. The drop in form wasn't drastic. 21 goals and 18 assists in 52 games is still elite, but for Vinicius it felt like underperformance, especially when he had just delivered a season that had Ballon d'Or written all over it. He went from being the guy to just one of the guys, and you can't ignore the mental toll of that. A player who had earned the right to lead the team was now having to adjust his game for someone else. That kind of shift affects confidence, decision-making, and chemistry. There were tactical clashes, there were spatial overlaps, it simply didn't work as smoothly as it should have. And it became obvious. If Real Madrid kept using him like this, they'd be wasting one of the most dangerous players in world football. But now, there's a change, not just in players or tactics, but in leadership. Because the man coming in, Xabi Alonso, might be exactly what Vinicius Jr. needs. But before we talk about that, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you. Xabi Alonso is not just a new face on the Madrid bench, he's a tactical revolution waiting to happen. And if there's one thing you need to know about Alonso, it's that he doesn't just manage players, he unlocks them. Look at what he did at Bayer Leverkusen. He took over a team that was fighting relegation, sitting near the bottom of the Bundesliga table. Morale was low, the team looked lost, and there was no clear system. In his very first full season, Alonso didn't just steady the ship, he transformed it. Leverkusen went from fighting relegation to finishing 6th in just a few months. And then in the 2023-24 season, they went invincible. No losses in the league. That's 34 games unbeaten in one of the most competitive leagues in Europe, against teams like Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, Leipzig, you name it. And this wasn't defensive football or luck. Alonso's system was calculated, modern, and clear. It was built around control, fluidity, and intelligent use of spaces. His go-to formation? A 3-4-2-1, with emphasis on inverted playmakers, progressive wingbacks, and positional discipline. Every player had a function, every run, every press, every pass intentional. But here's where it gets interesting for Vinicius. Alonso's system thrives on left-sided creativity. At Leverkusen, that role was occupied by Florian Wirtz. And under Alonso, Wirtz didn't just grow, he exploded. In 2 seasons, he delivered over 68 goal contributions. And he wasn't even a traditional winger. He was an inverted attacking midfielder drifting into half spaces, constantly receiving the ball between the lines, always in the perfect position to either play the killer ball or go for the goal himself. Alonso didn't force Wirtz into a role that didn't fit, he built a system around his strengths. He gave him the platform, the angles, and the support to shine. Wirtz responded by becoming one of the best young players in Europe. Now imagine Vinicius Jr. in that role. Vinicius already had 35 goal contributions in a different season where he wasn't playing to his strengths. That's while adjusting to Mbappe, shifting flanks and dealing with the loss of space. Now imagine him in a system specifically designed for dynamic left-sided attackers. Imagine him being the primary outlet again, the focus, the dangerous man in the half space with options all around him. This is what Xabi Alonso brings. He's not going to play Vinicius and Mbappe into each other's zones. That clash of space we saw under Ancelotti? Alonso won't let that happen. In the 3-4-2-1, there's structure. Mbappe can operate as the central striker or on the right side of the 2 attacking midfielders. Vinicius gets that high left channel to himself, the exact zone where he thrives. And more than just structure, Alonso offers a system of balance. The wingbacks provide width, the midfield double pivots provide cover, and the front 3 have the freedom to combine without losing shape. That's crucial for a player like Vinicius, who needs that support behind him to feel free going forward. Even the small details, like Alonso's positional rotations and passing patterns, help wide players find space in dangerous zones. At Leverkusen, this was what made them so hard to stop. No player was ever isolated. The left side always had overloads. If Vinicius gets those conditions, he becomes unstoppable. And here's the key difference. Alonso sees the game from a player's perspective. He understands what it means to give your best and not to be used right. He won't waste a weapon like Vinicius, he'll refine him. We've already seen what Vinicius can do when he's 70% optimized. Now under Alonso, we might be about to witness the 100% version. Systemized, supported, and unleashed. But how exactly would Vinicius fit tactically into Alonso's 3-4-2-1 system? And how does Alonso ensure there's no more role overlap with Mbappe? Let's break this down. Alonso's preferred setup at Leverkusen was a 3-4-2-1. That means 3 centre-backs, 2 wing-backs, a double pivot in midfield, and 2 attacking midfielders sitting behind a central striker. But here's the thing. Those 2 attacking midfielders are not your typical number 10s or wide wingers. They operate in the half spaces, areas between the opposition fullback and centre-back. They're given freedom to float, to combine, and to attack space with speed and intelligence. And that's where Vinicius fits perfectly. In this structure, Vinicius would likely be used on the left side of the two attacking midfielders, behind the striker. This gives him access to his favourite zone, the inside left channel. He won't be stuck hugging the touchline, he won't be forced to take on two defenders from deep. Instead, he'll be receiving the ball higher up the pitch, in space, closer to the box, and with better angles to combine or finish. That's the biggest shift. Under Ancelotti, especially after Mbappe's arrival, Vinicius was either shoved into unnatural positions or made to share space with another left-sided threat. It created confusion. They ran into each other's zones, and that destroyed rhythm. But Alonso's system avoids that completely. In a 3-4-2-1, there's no traditional left winger. The width on that side comes from the left wing-back, someone like Ferland Mendy or Alvaro, depending on selection. That player stretches the field wide, pins the opposition fullback, and opens up the half space for Vinicius to operate. It's a coordinated movement. Vinicius doesn't have to beat three players on his own. He'll be operating in smaller pockets of space, linking with midfielders, rotating with the striker, and making late surges into the box. No more Mbappe cutting in from the left and squeezing Vinicius out of the game. Instead, Alonso creates a tactical map where every attacker has their own zone of influence, clearly defined with structure and spacing. Another important element? Ball progression. Under Ancelotti, a lot of the attacking responsibility fell directly on Vinicius to carry the ball up the pitch. But in Alonso's system, progression is shared. The wing-backs push high, the midfield double pivot, think Camavinga and Valverde, help build play from deep. And if the midfielders can't do that, then he can make use of Trent to make long passes. That means Vinicius can stay higher, closer to the goal, conserving energy and focusing on the end product. That's a huge advantage. It's the same thing Alonso did with Florian Wirtz. Wirtz didn't waste time dropping into midfield to collect the ball, and when he did, he had a lot of space to drive into, which either led to a goal or an assist. Alonso ensured he was always in advanced areas, always available to finish moves or play the final pass. And let's not forget, Vinicius is no longer just a dribbler. He's added finishing to his game. He's making smarter runs, arriving at the back post and scoring with fewer touches. That's a sign of a mature attacker. Under Alonso's system, where movements are well drilled and the team attacks in waves, Vinicius will get more clear-cut chances. Not just chaotic solo runs, real chances. Also worth noting, in defensive phases, Alonso's teams press smart. They don't waste energy. The front three engage in positional pressing, cutting off passing lanes and forcing long balls. Vinicius, with his pace and awareness, fits perfectly into that model. So this is the tactical promise. Vinicius gets his favourite zone back. Mbappe gets space to thrive without clashing. The system supports Vinicius with width and passing angles. He plays closer to the goal, and most importantly, he's no longer isolated. That's the blueprint for his comeback. But all this sets the stage for something bigger. Alonso isn't just planning to restore Vinicius to form, he's building a system that could make him unplayable again. This is not about potential anymore, this is about readiness. Vinicius Jr. has already shown the world what he's capable of. He's already been the best left winger on the planet. But now, under Xabi Alonso, we might finally see the complete version of him. Refined, focused, and unleashed. This isn't just about him getting his zone back or being separated from Mbappe tactically. This is about a shift in responsibility and optimization. Under Ancelotti, Vinicius had to do everything. Carry the ball, create the chances, finish them, and pull defenders away. It worked for a while, but it burned him out. His influence started to fade when the system became too reliant on his chaos. Under Alonso, that chaos is being turned into structure. He'll have players making synchronized runs, he'll have triangles to combine with, he'll have tactical cover so that he's not isolated during transition phases. And most of all, he'll have a manager who builds his attack through him, not around him, not next to him, through him. The numbers already tell you that the old Vinicius is still very close. Even in what many consider a disappointing season, he still posted 21 goals and 18 assists in 52 games. That's nearly 40 goal contributions. And that's in a system where he was moved around, boxed out of his space, and forced to coexist with another left-dominant attacker. Now imagine what he does when he gets positional clarity again. But what do you think? Can he win the Ballon d'Or under Xabi? Well, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out our last video on the biggest problem Xabi might face this season. Thank you.